Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Wednesday, the 29th of August, comes to you from London. We see the dollar recovering a little bit the last 24 hours, but still bearish below the cloud on the short-term chart. And looking at the euro, of course, has been stronger and is now tailing off on that slight dollar improvement. Looking at the yen, which is really where we get the heads up for the dollar, fairly flat here at the moment as well. Sterling sitting at 128.80, just holding on to that bullish position on the recent dollar weakness. And against the euro, sterling is still bearish below the cloud, sitting at this 110 level, just teetering on 12-month lows here. So really quite significant there. And we've still got further downside targets for sterling against the euro. Against the Swiss franc, we see sterling lower, and against the Aussie dollar, actually sterling is actually improving slightly here on that weaker Aussie dollar. Bitcoin sitting back above $7,000 level this morning, so looking stronger short term. No clear upside targets on the short term chart, but actually starting to look better short term and the medium term, and starting to enter back into bullish territory. The US market, little change last night. The S&P 500 index, much the same for the Nasdaq. And really, what's interesting is a lack of longer-term upside targets on both these indices. So we're not seeing the buying thrust that produces that. We are seeing it on the Dow with an 11% upside potential, 6% short-term potential, but it is just a slight concern that we're not seeing that buying thrust. Dow yet to make a new high, new all-time high, of course. The Russell index, again, little changed yesterday. The futures this morning, we're seeing a slight improvement on the S&P future, and the Nasdaq E-mini up a third of a percent. So we are just seeing up a quarter of a percent. So it looks like the US market might open slightly higher. UK market, little change this morning. We are back into short-term bullish territory, and the FTSE 250 also looking better. Again, little change this morning. The DAX pushing higher, and the CAC Current also pushing higher, although it's very subdued this morning. Looking at Asia, we saw Tokyo up 0.4%, and the Hang Seng up 0.2%. China was down a third of a percent, so still struggling there and can't quite get into bullish territory on that short-term chart. Still relatively weak, and trade wars not helping the Chinese market. The Indian market down slightly, but still looking better than most other Asian markets. And the Aussie market up 0.75% overnight, so looking stronger there, making new highs. Brent crude sitting at 75.78, so just still bullish on the short-term chart. Medium term just struggling to quite break into that bullish territory. WTI also just struggling there. US nat gas sitting at 285, can't get back above that cloud level, so looking bearish there on the short-term chart, and long-term still fairly bearish. $3 just seems to be a natural ceiling for nat gas. Gold sitting at 1204, so bullish still on the short-term chart, that weaker dollar having helped the last week or so. And silver just declining a bit this morning, although we are sitting still just right on cloud support. US Treasury yield sitting at 2.87%. No great changes here, although we did jump quite nicely out of the low 2.80s, but we are still struggling to break into bullish territory on that medium-term chart for the yield. Apple still looking strong, up at nearly 1% overnight. Apple really just pushing higher. Amazon also up a quarter of a percent. Google were actually where we are just seeing relative weakness, was down 0.85%. So Google was just struggling to perform as strongly as the other tech. Facebook down to 176. 170 is the support level there to watch on Facebook. Microsoft holding on to its gains back to the 110 level, so looking stronger again there on Microsoft. Netflix had a reasonable session as well, up over 1%, so looking pretty good. And Tesla, which has been in the news a lot lately, just struggling there, down 2.3%, so Tesla looking weak there. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.